And welcome. I am your guy, Jordan Bell. I'm here with my guy, David. David, what's going on, man?
All good, my brother. All good. Excited to be here with you today. Uh, a nice little, timely chat around some, big happenings in the world of not only music but sports and pop culture. And really, we're talking, of course, about Kendrick's Super Bowl halftime performance. Uh, and we're gonna do a little bit like a kind of a guest host pinch hit here with Hit Cycle Podcast, friend of the pod, Jordan Bell, one of the best people in the world. So excited to be here with you, Jordan. And I'm curious, maybe just kick us off with initial high level reactions to Kendrick's performance. What you felt in the moment, and maybe how it's kind of resonated as we're recording this about 24 hours after. So still pretty fresh at post performance.
Yeah, so for me, uh, I was pretty excited about the Kendrick performance going into it, right? As you know, I'm a big Kendrick fan, and I'm a big fan of Kendrick's ability to blend his artistry and imagery and his music and all of those things all into one big pot. So I had high expectations. And high expectations for what I think is a really hard show to pull off, with it being a rap show at the Super Bowl on this big stage. You only get somewhere in the ballpark of 15 minutes. I think this is a really tough needle to thread, especially for a hip hop artist who isn't known for his dancing or anything like that, right? You have to really kind of bring a lot of elements into the show to tie it all together. So I was really excited about it. And it's interesting, man, because initially my first reaction to the show was a slight underwhelming,
Hmm.
a slight underwhelming. And I think what happened for me is I think I expected so much from the imagery and everything, that there was so much going on with the performance that I was almost a little bit too overstimulated,
Hmm.
right? So like with Kendrick, the people that really love Kendrick, they love kind of these performances that he does with these hidden messages and, okay, did you catch this? Okay, did you catch that? Right? Kendrick, probably more than any other artist that exists right now,
Hmm.
is really famous for the next day. There's all these videos about, okay, did you catch the colors over here? Did you catch the dancers over here? Did you hear
Hmm.
this guy say this? He had on this hat and he wore it like this. Did you catch that? Right. And so for me, for a Super Bowl performance, I want to kind of get up and dance and vibe a little bit more. And the songs that he selected for the show, all of the stuff that was going on the show, even just some of the rapping, he opened with a freestyle that we had never heard before. So there was a lot of trying to figure out what was going on for me, as opposed to just me sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the show.
Hmm.
And so I had to kind of take that in, finish watching that game, which sucked, and then I rewatched it two or three times today. And after my rewatch, I A, got what was going on a lot more. I B, was like, okay, he did kind of play some of the songs that I wanted to hear. And so I enjoyed it a lot more after the fact. But initially, I was a little bit underwhelmed, and I think part of that was, it's kind of the gift and the curse of Kendrick, where he's so intelligent, he's so smart, he has all these interesting things going on in his performances. And sometimes for me, I just want to hear the music. And for me, last night initially, it was less about the music and more about the imagery and the messaging.
Hmm.
And I initially wasn't as into it, but as I've had, like you said, 24 hours now to sit back, rewatch it, kind of reobserve what was going on, I appreciate it a little bit more. What did you think about it?
Everything he does, the performance felt exactly like a Kendrick performance in every way. And I think a lot of what you're saying is why
Sure.
everything felt very intentional, almost to the point where you couldn't have caught everything that was in there, right? It wasn't designed to be consumed once and then you missed it. Like a lot of his stuff, especially his more recent stuff, kind of to your point, it's like it's made for the re-listen. It's made for the video, the YouTube video that's going to explain, why or how, maybe this is what he's alluding to. Da da da. There's a lot of that, which I think, to your point, can cut both ways. I love it because I'm a big Kendrick fan and I love those types of intricacies. But in that type of setting, I also understand that's not what everyone's looking for. Um, but that's part of why I really did love it, is because I think he maximized on those 15 minutes that he had, and he created something that was super intentional, super political, and designed to be gone back to and analyzed and studied, which I think is really different from what a conventional, traditional Super Bowl performance would be about, right? Um, I loved the Sam Jackson, Uncle Sam role and character. I love that he, like, especially because now for this generation, I think a lot of, people our age and younger people really, one of Sam Jackson's biggest roles, maybe other than like in the Marvel movies that people recognize him for, is his role in Django Unchained, right? Where he plays this horrific, self-hating, whatever, just
Yeah.
this really complex character that's intensely anti-black. And having him be Uncle Sam, policing Kendrick's performance as he's doing it, guiding him down the path that white America and conventional America, a lot of the people who are watching him, including the president who's in the building, probably think he should be going down. And then Kendrick basically saying, fuck you, Drake, fuck you, white America, fuck you, anything, expectations that you want to place on me or my art. I'm going to do it my way, intentionally, to the point where I will start it off with an unreleased style where even Kendrick hardcore fans are like, what song is this? Like, I think that's a bold decision to then ramp up to, the various political statements that are included throughout. And folks can pop on the YouTube or TikTok rabbit holes and go dive down and look at all the various different things that are in there. But things like the set turning into a prison yard, all the dancers representing the American flag, things that I was able to catch, in watching it live. I can't think of another artist, especially a hip hop artist in today's contemporary scene, that would utilize the platform in that way with that type of creativity. So I have to tip my hat, and say it was impressive and groundbreaking. He's a moment maker, he's moved beyond just being a musician. He really creates cultural moments, and this was another one. It really felt like it.
Yeah, and as a creative, he's one of one again, which is why I was so excited to watch the performance. I really was anticipating something awesome, and again, as I've rewatched it, I've gained appreciation for it even 24 hours later. I guess with me, when I think of the Super Bowl, and I think of kind of what I think we should get out of it, I want everybody from my grandmother to my nieces and nephews to be able to dance, right?
Sure.
That's just the kind of show that I enjoy for 15 minutes. And so when I when I was watching it initially, and I watched it at home by myself, I didn't go out to any parties or anything last night.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched by myself last night, I just didn't get that vibe. And
Mm-hmm.
I think what disappointed me a little bit about it, and disappointed is probably a strong word. I don't want to say that because I did enjoy the show, but I think Kendrick has songs that could have given you that and also still got that message across, which is what I wanted him to do, right? Like he could have done All Right, he could have done
Mm-hmm.
King Kunta, he could have done Hood Politics. And I think all of those songs would have still fit within the framework of what he was trying to do. Now
Mm-hmm.
he's done some of those songs on major award shows and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So he may have just wanted to pivot away from that. I hated that we didn't get All Right. That's just
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite Kendrick songs, and it's such a song of empowerment. And I thought it would have really fit what he was trying to do last night.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my kind of initial thoughts. Again, though, like changing the set into a prison yard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I looked at it initially, it looked like he was trying to make the set look like a video game board or something
Mm-hmm.
like that
Mm-hmm.
from the start.
Controller,
And
like a
yeah,
controller.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I meant to
Yeah.
say.
Yep.
Controller, all of that stuff was brilliant, man. And it's so well thought out. And the lights that say start the game and game over, and the narrations from Sam Jackson, all of that stuff was really, really, really cool. And like you said, Kendrick's the only dude that can do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no
Mm-hmm.
other artist, regardless of genre,
Hmm.
that could pull something like that off. I thought Beyonce was awesome on
Yeah.
Christmas
Yeah.
and also put forth a message that was important to hear and see, but did it in a totally different way. Obviously, a totally different artist, but
Hmm.
both very cool. I think the thing that I liked more about the Beyonce show is I watched that with my mom, my grandmother, my aunts, uncles, and everybody's dancing. And we don't I don't even know that album super well,
Sure.
right? I don't
Sure.
sit down and listen to a ton of Beyonce albums, but I enjoyed that show. I was able to kind of groove and bob my
Hmm.
head a little
Hmm.
bit more to that one. So that's kind of what I initially thought of that is I wish that he had played a little bit more of the songs that have a little bit more of a groove to them. But all in all, you can't be critical of a show that has that much thought into it and puts together a message that's incredible and needed and bold, like you said,
Hmm.
right? Like he
Hmm.
did that on a huge stage with the president in the building. Like that was a bold thing for Kendrick to do.
But like it's interesting because Kendrick has the hits, right? If he wanted to go out for 15 minutes and play the bangers and get people fired up, like I've seen Kendrick live a few times now. Like he can do that. He can go get people moving. He can go play hits. So to have this type of platform on the end of the year that he's had after sweeping the Grammy, taking over the world, to choose not to do that, to choose not to take a victory lap and play the hits and blow the roof off of the Superdome. It's interesting, it's a
Yeah.
creative artistic choice that other artists in his position, probably to your point, are not making that decision, to the point of also not only making the decision to play Not Like Us, but like making it the climax and highlight of his performance to say, I'm going to look right in the camera. I'm going to mention Drake by name. I'm going to have this entire stadium singing the A minor line. Unbelievable, like stuff that unprecedented stuff when it comes to Super Bowl performances, hip hop performances, rap beef, all of it. Like the whole thing from a putting the political side of it, the political stuff aside for a second, looking at it as kind of like a culmination of everything that's happened with him and Drake, Grammys included. I don't know how you can. It's like he's inventing new ways to like hand this guy L's in this beef, and if like having this song performed at the Super Bowl against his wishes, where he tried to sue him to not let him do it, it's like what a moment, what an unbelievable moment for this guy after a year of unbelievable moments. It felt like the cherry on top of just like an incredible performer, really in his prime, like achieving at his highest level, which is cool to see.
Regardless of what side of this beef you were on or
Sure.
how you felt about it, the the climax of that performance was, is he going to do it, right? Is he going to play that song? I think we all thought he probably would, right? If anybody doesn't give a fuck, it's Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
But you didn't know, right?
Right.
There
Right.
were set lists that had leaked and everything, but you don't actually know what's going to happen until it does.
Right.
And there is a lawsuit, right? Like Drake is suing him. Like who we didn't know exactly what was going to happen last night. And so when he played it, the place was electric. Like you said, he got the whole crowd to yell A minor. And I mean, he's had an incredible. I don't know how many months it's been with this song, probably 3 or 4 months with that song, but like, man, what a run he's had with it. Like it's the best diss track of all time. It's the biggest record of his career, and it's
Incredible.
uh it's an incredible moment that he had, and hats off to him for having the kahunas to go do that. And like you said, he looked in the camera and mentioned Drake by name, and I have mixed feelings about that. I don't know. I don't love the idea of taking that time to totally destroy someone on the biggest platform in the world.
Mm.
Um, Now, it is what it is, right? Like, I don't know the whole story between him and Drake. I
Right.
honestly, like, when the beef really got to its height, I didn't pay that much attention to it.
Sure.
I found parts of it to be pretty corny.
Sure.
But the Not Like Us song is obviously the pinnacle of that whole thing. And it's an interesting choice, right? Like
Mhm.
for Kendrick to have that platform and use that platform to send negative energy towards Drake, that's a choice, right? Like he didn't have to do that. And, he decided to do that, and he's going to go down in history for it. And, with the way the internet is now with memes and everything, him looking in the camera and smiling and saying Drake's name, that's going to live in infamy. So
Right.
it
Already,
was,
it
it was
already
a,
is.
yeah, it was a really cool show. I love that he brought Mustard out there.
With a
And
football in hand. Love it.
yeah, Mustard was dope. I love that. And yeah, again, I think for me, I think I wanted the energy in the stadium, even just watching on the TV, you could feel the energy shift
Hmm.
when he got into Not Like Us and TV Off, right? And
Hmm.
so for
Hmm.
me, someone who really loves a lot of Kendrick's records, I wanted 15 minutes of that
Hmm.
energy,
Hmm.
right? That's what I was looking for, and that's where initially I was a little bit disappointed because Kendrick has so many songs that give me that feeling, and he only gave us two of them at the very end, and one of them is a song that's you know, direct. It's a diss record, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So there's there's just more songs he has that bring out that energy and get the crowd going. That could have got the crowd singing along, and
yeah.
I would love to see him do a little bit more of those.
Yep.
But again, it's hard to be critical of something that it just has so much thought put into it.
But I think for Kendrick, without speaking for him, but my interpretation is Drake, he dislikes Drake personally, but I think he really dislikes what Drake is, what he represents, and that the Drakes of the world have co-opted the art form that he loves and is passionate about, and the way he does it, his version of respecting the art form and the craft, which he's said many times and talks about many times, talked about in his Grammy speech, right? When he won for this song, it's like this new generation of artists that respect the art form and the values behind it, and what's important to Kendrick about it. So I think taking down Drake, there's a personal side to it without a doubt, but there's also that choice you're talking about is also an artistic choice. It's also a creative choice. It's a rejection not only of this guy, but of everything about this guy and how he claims his version of hip hop, and how in Kendrick's eyes it's not valid and it's not something that should be propagated to people. And in the short time that he has on the biggest platform he might ever have to perform on, that's going to be a part of it. That message is going to ring loud and true, along with the smiling memes and the, whatever shit talk, like subtweets or whatever the fuck, So it was interesting. I'll tell you what, however you felt about it, I think it was a moment, and people who don't care about hip hop and don't care about music even that much were interested to tune in and see what was going to happen and how it was. And to your point a few minutes ago, the game being so shitty, I think even helped with that, right? Because it was like by the time we were in the like mid second quarter, it was like, oh boy, this is a three possession game already. Like this could go really bad. And then by the time I got to halftime, it was like, let's go.
Yeah,
Let's see what's about to happen, And I think that that's really cool. And I'm, in the same way that he left Not Like Us off of his record, off of GNX, because he didn't want to commingle them, and let one thing be its own thing and let the album be its own thing. I'm curious to see where he goes next. What's going to come next from this performance and this all this energy, good, bad, and otherwise, that's come from this year. How a truly brilliant creative mind like his will process all that, and what that's going to turn into is going to be super interesting. I can't wait. I bet it's going to be awesome.
yeah. He's going to continue to crush it. It's hard to think that he will top what he just did, but if there's one person out there that can do it, it's probably Kendrick, right? And so he's continued to raise the bar every time he puts a project out, right? You and I have been listening to him since we were in college together, and
Yeah, before, yeah.
it's and yeah, before
Yeah.
that, but
And I think that this is another, to your point, everything you just said, every album he's made has been different, sounded different, visuals around it are different, headspace he's in is very clearly different from the last one. They're better, if not better, they're the craft has improved with every project he's put out. He's doing things like now winning Grammys consistently, perform to your point, taking creative swings on huge performance stages like the Super Bowl. I'm biased. I'm from LA. I'll hand up on that. But to me, that sounds like the building of a resume of the best rapper ever to rap, in my opinion. And he's like well on his way to being in that conversation if he's not already. That's one of the feelings I was left with off this performance as well.
Yeah, that's another podcast probably, right? Like that's a whole nother ball game.
Oh yeah.
He is definitely the easy way to say it would be in the conversation for people in our generation of most influential greatest. I think we can even go much bolder and say he's in the top two, right? Like it's probably him and Jay, and then Drake's in there too, regardless of how you like his music or not. And um, yeah, he's one of the guys,
Yeah.
and he's pushed raised the bar in ways that we didn't think were possible,
Right.
and has had an amazing career.
Like the
So
great ones do, right? Like
yeah,
there's really, really talented people. I know we're hit cycle, usually baseball focused, but to use like a basketball analogy, like you and I talk about all the time, Kendrick is not only in my opinion, at this point already in his career, he's not just a Hall of Famer. He's going to end up being a Hall of Famer in the way that like Steph and LeBron have been for this generation of players, where not only were they historically great, but they literally changed the game. Like what you're saying, like they innovated the sport in the same types of ways that Kendrick has innovated popular hip hop music and really lyrical hip hop music. That's another point I wanted to make about
yeah,
what you were mentioning, which is definitely choices and like less anthem arena songs. He took his 15 minutes at the Super Bowl and put lyrical hip hop on display, right? In a
yeah.
way that has never been done before. And as someone who loves lyrical hip hop, I was like, whoa, whoa, right? That this dude's mumbling an unheard freestyle verse right now on the biggest stage in the world. Like that's amazing. That's a LeBron, that's Steph pulling up from the logo, right? With 20 seconds left on the shot clock. Something that's like before that happened, you get benched for that shit, right? Now it's in play. That's an option. That's a shot, right? That's a real shot that people take now. So Kendrick is that level, and I agree with you. I think he's going to continue to ascend. It's going to be fun to watch.
Man, Kendrick's awesome. I wrote down a grade. I don't know if you
Ooh,
have a grade in mind, but I
oh
wrote down a
man,
grade. I went
hit
B
me.
plus. It was a really, really good performance. It left out some of the things that I want from a Super Bowl performance, but that it was still incredible. And he gave us a lot of really good stuff there, and
Hmm.
it gave us a lot to think about.
Hmm.
So I gave him a B plus. I don't know if I gave him a grade. I may have forgot to text you that, but
That's all right. I like thinking on the spot, and I'll pivot it to a hit cycle, baseball scale grade,
sure.
um, on a 20 to 80 scale, and I'd probably give it like a 70, which I think is pretty similar to a B plus A minus. I think like for all the creative reasons and political um, messages that he was kind of conveying at a really important time. And just like cool shit like Serena, crip walking, amazing touches, like little things that, like you said, I think a minute ago, like just well thought out, stuff that was going to be, he knew was going to garner a fun reaction from people in the stadium and watching on TV. Um,
To the Serena point, if you're gonna be petty, go all the way. I
oh,
I
hell
love
yeah.
I
Oh,
love
hell yeah. Oh, and
like
the layers
that.
to it, like, Serena, obviously her history with Drake, and just the immediate, easy,
Sure.
like, here's your
Yeah.
ex just
Boom.
balling
She's
on you.
awesome. Yeah, but she's also from Compton, like
She's
all
from
that.
Compton. She also got really famously derided for crip walking after winning a major. I think it was a major, a big tournament.
Yeah.
And it's like, here we are 10 years later, and she's at the Super Bowl. And, it's like, why do people shit on things? Why do people feel uncomfortable about certain cultures being highlighted when others aren't? It's
And it was all a part of the section of the performance where it was be unapologetic about who you are and doing things your own
totally,
way. So like Serena, it was perfect.
it was
It was
perfect. It
it
was
was perfect.
awesome. It was awesome.
One more question before
Oh
we
yeah, yeah,
finish.
yeah. Sure, sure.
So I was thinking about this. If you could pick next year's performer,
Oh man.
who would you pick? So I thought about this for a while today, and I swear I didn't say this out loud, but my phone is reading my mind because this person started popping up on my algorithms. I promise an hour after I thought about it. I I think I would go Tallahassee Payne, dog.
Oh, the
I
guy,
think I think I would go T-Pain,
the
man. I
guy.
think T-Pain would be so
Great
for the
choice.
reason
Great
being everything
choice.
that I want out of a Super Bowl performance, T-Pain could do.
Totally.
Right? T-Pain could give us that energy.
Totally.
Also, part of the whole thing leading up to the Kendrick thing was who's he going to bring out? Who's he going to bring out? Who's he
Right.
going to bring out?
Right. Right.
And then he really didn't bring out anybody, right?
Right.
SZA was already on the bill for the show. We knew SZA was going to be there. He brought Mustard out, but Mustard didn't rap, right?
Right.
So with T-Pain, T-Pain's got enough in his catalog to stand alone, but T-Pain's not T-Pain unless he's doing some features, right? So T-Pain
Totally.
could bring out, the list of people that T-Pain can bring out is enormous
Oh yeah.
and he's T Pain, right? So
Tylenol pain.
yeah, there's a good video going around of T Pain watching the Kendrick performance in real time. Of course, popped up on my phone after I thought about this, but um, I think I would go T Pain. I
I
think
love that.
if Apple Music blessed me with the opportunity to choose the next Super Bowl performance, I think I'm going Tallahassee Payne.
I think that's an amazing choice. I would maybe pick Anderson Paak. I think Anderson Paak, while not a huge name, probably outside of like hip hop R&B type circles, he has a couple of big songs. He's worked with a lot of big people, actually. He has a lot of features that he could pull in. And he is made one of the best live performers I've seen in recent memory. Like that dude truly does everything. Like he's drumming and singing, he's playing piano, he's playing the guitar. The Free Nationals, his band is a phenomenal band, uh, platinum plaque award winning band. He would put on a hell of a show. He would absolutely put on a hell of a show, especially I think if the Super Bowl was somewhere in like the Southwest or Texas,
I think it's in San Fran next year.
great. He would bring the house down, I feel like, in San
Yeah.
Francisco. And it wouldn't be it'd be different than what you're talking about and what you look for. It would not necessarily be he has a couple songs where I think people can get up and get going, but it would just be smooth. It would be cool and hip. I would think of it like his one of his famous features, like Bruno Mars's performance was a few years back, which was
That's what I was gonna ask. Did he go on stage with Bruno
he
a
might
few
have
years
he might he might have
ago?
he might have like featured on something,
I
but
think I think he was on stage with Bruno a few years back.
I would envision I would book not Silk Sonic as the
Yeah,
as the
yeah,
act. I would book Anderson Paak with maybe like Bruno coming out for a song, to
yeah.
leave the door open or whatever their big song is. So um that is admittedly kind of off the top right there with Anderson Paak, but I think that would be a fun Super Bowl performance. Or the other way I would go with it is just like really really lean into like political acts and like bring out like Public Enemy or like bring out like run back the living members of NWA or something, to like have
Sure.
have it be a fun thing, that like the Super Bowl performance can be a platform for expression, of whatever ideology is the people are feeling. Um, but yeah, those are my initial thoughts on that one.
All right. I love it, man.
Yeah, brother.
Before we wrap, real quick, there may be people that listen or watch this that don't know about Hit Cycle. Can you
Oh
just
yeah.
plug Hit Cycle real quick and tell people where
Absolutely.
they can
Yeah, I've
find that?
referenced it a couple times. So yeah, my I do a podcast with Jordan and I's other friend, Bill Farrow, where on the Hit Cycle we break down hip hop artists as if they were baseball prospects. So on the baseball scouting scale, you rate the tools of each prospective player on a scale from 20 to 80. 20 being very bad, 80 being like once in a generation, incredible talent. And so Bill and I break down different artists in their respective tools. So instead of hitting for power like a baseball player would, we break down an artist's lyrical ability, production choices, collaboration, things like that. So each episode is a different artist. Bill and I give our grades and rankings of them as if they were a prospect, and it's a lot of fun. And Jordan is a multiple time featured guest now on the Hit Cycle podcast, so a lot of overlap with a lot of the stuff that's being talked about and covered on the Good People content channel.
and an avid listener. If you haven't checked out their show, make sure you check it out. I was recently listening to the Nelly episode, which was absolutely awesome. I loved it.
Oh, Nelly's the
I
man.
love all the episodes you guys do, but the Nelly one I really really enjoyed.
Oh,
So
appreciate it,
if you
Jordan.
haven't
Thanks,
checked
buddy.
out that yet, check it out. We'll drop a link to that in this video. But other than that, man, you got anything else, Dave?
That's it, brother.
All right. Well, for the people, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Bye.